Hi, my name is Megan, and this is Everything Lit. And today I am bringing you my April TBR. This is going to be short, this is going to be sweet, because I want to do a little vlog / reading challenge that I can't predict the books that I'm going to read for that. And then I have a couple library books, a couple new books I want to read. And then I've got a stack down here. I might be participating in the magical readathon. I haven't really decided. I haven't looked at the careers. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read what I want, and then toward the end of the month see what I can fit into any prompts, and then decide what career I want and see if there are any things that I want to go for. You know, I'm going to kind of take it as I can and not push myself, because I've been reading a lot and it's been great, but I do want to focus more on writing, and I have a hard time balancing those things. Let's start with the library books that I have currently and want to read. So I currently have the audiobook for The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second in the Mistborn trilogy. I can't really tell you much about it because so much happened in that first book, but Mistborn is essentially the story of a group that are trying to assassinate the Dark Overlord and steal a precious metal from him. And the magic system is very cool. Certain people can ingest specific metals and then use that to enhance certain abilities. So I really loved the first one. I listened to that on audio, and I think the audiobook was fantastic. So I would like to get to The Well of Ascension. I currently have the audiobook for Annibot, and I think I'm going to get the physical copy from the library on Monday, or probably today, the day you're seeing this. So Annibot is by something Greer. I think it starts with an S, Sierra Greer. It's going to be on the screen. And I'm not 100% sure what this is about. I know it's a new release. I know it sounds really interesting and kind of like literary sci-fi. And I believe it is about this type of robot that is created to be a housewife, kind of, or be a girlfriend to men who want that. And probably she kind of becomes sentient, or like becomes her own person and has her own wants and desires. And of course that would throw a wrench into a man's plans. I think that's what this is about. I don't fully know. I know it involves robots, dating, and it sounds really interesting, and I think it's kind of short. I have At First Spite by Olivia Dade. This is a romance. I'm trying to pull back on the romances this month, because if you've seen some of my other vlogs or videos, I've been reading a lot of romance lately, and I'm just kind of over it. Like, I need to not be reading so much romance, because, like, as you can see, I do like reading romance, but I need to diversify my genres, otherwise I burn out on one. This romance is about a woman who I think ends up living in between her ex-boyfriend, who they may have been like getting married, and his brother who stopped the marriage. I think it's got a sideline of like property, like who's going to own the property, who's going to keep the house that she's living in. But also I think she ends up enemies to lovers with the brother of her ex. It sounds a little messy. I'm a little trepidatious going into this one, because the last Olivia Dade that I read, I did not love, but all her characters are super different and distinct. It's probably not fair to be worried about this one, because it's a completely different story. So also something that I'm going to pick up on Monday, because I think my hold is going to come in, is The Emperor and the Thousand Palaces by Justinian Wong. I am totally going off the cuff. I don't have anything written down to remind me of that, but I'll put it on the screen so you can see what it's actually called. And I don't know much about this. I know it is a romantasy. I know it is a new release, and I know it is male. That's all I needed to know. But just look at the cover. Look at that cover and tell me you don't want to read it. Thank you. So I think that's it for the library books that I know I'm going to read. And then, I'm definitely going to be reading The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I will be buying that on April 9th, the day it comes out, and reading it right away. This is set during the Spanish Inquisition era, like Spain, 1400s, 1500s. And we have a character who is like a housemaid servant who discovers she has like magical abilities, and then people in power are trying to manipulate her and make her do their bidding. There may also be a vampire involved. I trust Leigh Bardugo, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. I may also buy Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. This is another new release. It involves a Aztec vampire woman and her journey through life. I think it's like horror. I don't know. You had me at vampire, and then you throw Aztec history on it, and I'm like, yes, I will be buying that. Thank you. And that comes out on April 16th. And then speaking of vlog or reading plans, I need your help with something. So I want to do another full spoiler reread vlog, but I have 2 books and I can't really decide which one I want to do. I will do both eventually, but in April, what do we want to see? So I will probably also put a poll up on my channel after this video goes up so that you can vote, but also comment, put a comment in the comments. Is that how people talk? Saying which one you would prefer a video on. So I have The Absolutist by John Boyne. This is a World War I historical fiction, literary male, it's not a romance, but the main relationship is queer. We follow our main character coming back from the war, and I believe the book starts with him telling the sister of his beloved, but she doesn't know that that's the case, the guy he fell in love with during the war, telling that man's sister that he is dead. Really heartbreaking, but really beautiful. I loved it, but it was 10 or 12 years ago. So I would do a full reread spoiler vlog for this, or Wicked by Gregory Maguire, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. I don't know when the movie is coming out, or part 1 of the movie is coming out, but I read this before the musical was a thing, and I remember loving it. And this was like 20 years ago, in 2004, maybe earlier. How crazy is that? So I have not read it since, but this is a retelling about the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz, from her point of view and her life story and how she became the Wicked Witch. It's very political, and there's a lot of weird relationships in this from what I remember. So leave a comment down below or vote in the poll that I will link once I put it up, which one you would prefer a video on first. And then I have a couple more books that have been on TBRs before, I'm pretty sure, but I just want to read them. So we have The Tobacco Wives by Adele Myers. This is about the wives of a bunch of tobacco company executives and how these women kind of discovering that smoking is bad for you and what they do with that information, whether or not they support their husbands or become kind of activists. I would like to read The Sea Elephants by Shastri Akella. This is another, I think, historical fiction, light fantasy maybe? Literary. I was looking for the word literary. Story about a boy who flees from his family after this tragedy, where his twin sister dies. He enrolls in an all-boys boarding school, and then I think he runs away from that and joins a storytelling troupe that reenacts the myths that he was told as a child. And I think it has a queer love story in it, but I don't know what kind. I don't know if it's male or if there's a trans character or what is happening in here, but I picked this up during the hardcover sale because of the beautiful cover, the title. I just am so interested in seeing if my instincts are still correct, that a book like this, by looking at the cover and reading the inside, is going to be a 5-star for me. I would like to read Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. This is another historical fiction, literary book, and I believe this neighborhood is being updated or changed, or they're building a new grocery store. Oh no, they're building a new housing development in the 70s, and a skeleton is found. And we kind of follow the residents of this neighborhood as they grapple with the tragedy that brought the skeleton to that place and what people know and what happened there. I would like to read The Paleontologist by Luc Dumas. This is a mystery thriller about a man whose sister went missing when they were young, and that guilt is still following him. And now it's during the pandemic, he is in this museum where she disappeared from, and something is stalking him. So it is often compared to Jurassic Park and Night at the Museum, if that tells you anything about what's happening in this book. I Would Like to Get to Foxglove by Adeline Grace. This is the sequel to Belladonna. Our main character can see death personified, and throughout her life she's been like shuttled from home to home as all her caretakers die. So at the beginning of the first book, she is really mad at death for like controlling her life or putting her life on this messy path. But then she gets sent to another family of cousins, and they really like take her in. It's very found family, but the mother died recently, and now the daughter is sick with the same illness in that first book. And our main character is like solving the mystery of this illness and seeing if she can help her cousin get better. And so it's like got murder mystery, but also gothic vibes. And this is the sequel where I think our main character has turned 18 and is coming into her inheritance, which is a house called Foxglove. I don't know what happens from there, but I really was surprised by how much I liked the first book. So I would like to get to the sequel before all the details disappear. And finally, I would like to read Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by Elle Cosimano. This is the second in the Finlay Donovan series. This is like a cozy mystery, murder mystery, maybe thriller elements. In the first book, Finlay Donovan gets mistaken for a hit woman because someone overhears her talking to her book editor about the murder mystery she's writing. But now she's gotten embroiled in more craziness. What I really liked about the first book was the relationship between Finlay and Vero, her nanny, and now Vero is a live-in nanny. And I just love the support between these two women, and I want to see how that progresses and how they get their goals. And then there was also kind of a little hint of a love triangle in the first one that I would like to see how that pans out in this. I've got a couple other books that I would kind of like to get to, but I'm not going to commit to those, so I'll just show them. So we've got Vicious Spirits, which I've talked about a lot before. Lessons in Chemistry. I started watching the show, and I kind of want to read the book before I finish the show. Divine Rivals and The Fake Mate. And then, of course, I mentioned it at the beginning, but I'm going to be doing a video project that involves my bookshelves, and I don't really know what I'm going to be reading for that until I do that vlog. So I'm excited about that project because it just seems like fun and spontaneous, and it gives me an excuse, or not an excuse, but like when you have so many books, sometimes it's hard to choose what you want to read next, and I think narrowing it down with this game will really help. So that is my April TBR. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you could click that like button, you could subscribe, but really, you can do whatever you want, and I'll see you next time.